The Deep Space Monitoring Station floated silently at the edge of Zorathian Empire territory. Inside the circular facility, scanner operator Kelrix monitored his displays with practiced boredom. His elongated fingers drummed against the console as he watched the endless stream of data flowing across multiple screens. The Zorathian Empire had controlled this region for over 5 centuries. Nothing interesting ever happened here anymore. Kel Rix was a young Zorathian, barely 30 cycles old, with smooth blue skin and large amber eyes that could see across multiple light spectrums. His thin frame was typical of his species, evolved on a low-gravity world where physical strength mattered less than mental acuity. He had taken this posting hoping for a quiet assignment where he could study advanced mathematics in his spare time. So far, the job had delivered exactly what he wanted: absolute monotony. The sensor array swept through space automatically, cataloging asteroids, monitoring stellar radiation, and tracking the occasional merchant vessel that passed through the sector. Kelrix had reviewed the protocols 1,000 times. If anything unusual appeared, he would alert Commander Vrazen. In 3 years of service, he had never needed to send such an alert. That changed in an instant. A sharp tone pierced the quiet of the monitoring station. Kelrix's primary eyes widened as his secondary eyes focused on a specific display. A new contact had appeared at the extreme edge of sensor range. The signature was unlike anything in the Zorathian database. His heart began beating faster as he ran the scan again, certain there must be an error. The second scan confirmed the first. Something massive was moving through space approximately 40 light-minutes away. The energy signature suggested advanced shielding and propulsion systems. The density readings indicated armor plating far thicker than standard military specifications. Most troubling of all, the computer could not identify the vessel's origin. Kelrix initiated the emergency communication protocol. Within moments, Commander Vrazen appeared in the doorway of the sensor chamber. Vrazen was everything Kelrix was not: old, experienced, and decorated with scars from the border wars. His blue skin had darkened with age, and his amber eyes held the cold calculation of a career military officer. "Report," Vrazen commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had given orders for decades. Kelrix gestured to his primary display. "Unknown contact, Commander. The signature does not match any vessel in our database. Size estimate suggests a capital ship, possibly a cruiser or destroyer class." Vrazen moved closer, studying the data with intense focus. His expression shifted from interest to concern as he absorbed the information. Where did it come from? Trajectory analysis suggests it originated from Sector 947, Kelrix replied, pulling up the star charts. That region contains mostly frontier worlds. Low technological development. No known military threats. Run a full spectrum analysis, Vrazen ordered. I want to know everything about that vessel. For the next hour, Kelrix worked frantically while Vrazen watched over his shoulder. The results became increasingly puzzling. The unknown ship was traveling at speeds that should have been impossible for a vessel of its apparent mass. Its power output suggested an energy source far more efficient than Zorathian fusion reactors. The hull composition scattered sensor beams in ways that indicated advanced stealth technology. Could it be the Nexer Collective? Kelrix asked, referring to the Zorathian Empire's primary rival. They have been developing new ship designs. Vrazen shook his head slowly. Nexer technology is in our database. This is something else entirely. He paused, his expression darkening. Search for partial matches. Perhaps we have encountered this species before, but never cataloged their military vessels. Kelrix ran the comparison algorithm. The computer worked through billions of data points, searching for any similarity to known technology. After several minutes, a result appeared. Probability match, 78%. Species identification, Both Zorthians stared at the screen in silence. "That cannot be correct," Raisin finally said. "Humans are barely space-capable. Our intelligence reports indicate they have only recently established colonies beyond their home system. They lack the industrial capacity for vessels like this." "The computer has high confidence in the match," Kellerix pointed out. "The energy signature has similarities to human fusion technology. The materials analysis shows alloys consistent with human metallurgy." Fraisen's expression shifted from confusion to something resembling contempt. "Then our intelligence reports are severely outdated, or the humans have been hiding their capabilities." He moved to the communication console. "I am summoning Battle Group Crimson. If this is truly a human vessel, we will intercept it and demand an explanation for its presence in Zorathian space." Within 2 hours, 4 Zorathian warships had changed course toward the unknown contact. The force consisted of 3 destroyers and 1 light cruiser, more than sufficient to handle any single vessel from a supposedly primitive species. Commander Vrazen transferred his command post to the lead destroyer, bringing Kellerix with him to continue monitoring the human ship Dot. The battle group closed the distance steadily. As they approached, more details became visible. The human warship was indeed massive, nearly matching the size of the Zorathian cruiser. But its design was strange, almost primitive in appearance. Where Zorathian vessels were elegant and streamlined, shaped by centuries of aesthetic refinement, the human ship looked brutally functional. It was angular and blocky, covered in what appeared to be thick armor plating. Weapon systems bristled from multiple points along its hull. "It looks like a flying fortress," Kellerix observed quietly. "It looks like scrap metal welded together by primitives," Raisin corrected with disdain. "Prepare communication channels. I will speak with whoever commands that vessel." The communication system connected to the human ship using standard galactic protocols. After a brief delay, a response came through. The face that appeared on the view screen surprised both Zorathians. The human was female, with dark skin and short black hair. She wore a simple uniform without the elaborate decorations that marked rank in most military services. Her eyes were calm and intelligent, showing no sign of fear despite being confronted by 4 warships. "This is Commander Vrazen of the Zorathian Imperial Navy," Vrazen announced formally. "You have entered territory claimed by the Zorathian Empire. Identify yourself and state your purpose immediately." Asterisk. The human woman regarded him steadily before responding. "I am Captain Marcus Rivera of the Terran Defense Coalition warship Defiance. We are conducting humanitarian operations in this sector." Her accent was strange, the words pronounced with unfamiliar emphasis, but the meaning was clear. Vrazen felt his irritation growing. "Humanitarian operations? This sector contains no human colonies. You have no authority here. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Captain Rivera's expression did not change. "Commander, I need to inform you that 3 months ago, the Kelvorian people living on the 4th planet of this system were attacked by Zorathian forces. 2,000 Kelvorians escaped the initial assault and established a hidden settlement. We are here to ensure their safety." Vrazen felt a flash of recognition. Yes, the Kelvorians. A minor conquest, barely worth remembering. The species had possessed some useful mineral resources, but little else of value. The survivors had been classified as fugitives, but pursuing them had been deemed not worth the effort. "The Kelvorians are subjects of the Zorathian Empire," Raisin stated coldly. "Their status is not your concern. You will withdraw from this sector immediately, or you will be fired upon." "No," Rivera replied simply. The single word hung in the air. Kellerix felt his breathing holes constrict. No one refused Zorathian commands. The Empire had spent 500 years teaching the galaxy that defiance led only to destruction. Raisin's skin darkened with anger. "You dare refuse?" You pilot one ship against 4. Your technology is primitive. Your species has no military reputation. Surrender now, or I will demonstrate why the Zorathian Empire rules this region." Captain Rivera leaned forward slightly. "Commander Vrazen, I understand you believe you have the advantage. You see 1 human ship and 4 Zorathian warships, and you assume the outcome is certain. But I need you to understand something important about humanity. What could you possibly tell me that would matter?" Vrazen demanded. "We come from a world that tried to kill us for 3 million years," Rivera said quietly. "Predators hunted us. Diseases ravaged us. Our own planet's climate changed so rapidly that entire populations died. We survived by becoming the most adaptable, most resilient, and most dangerous species our world had ever produced. And then, for 10,000 years, we fought each other. Humans versus humans. We invented weapons that could destroy cities. We developed tactics that could break empires. We learned warfare in a school where failure meant extinction." Kellerix listened, fascinated despite himself. The human captain's voice remained calm, almost gentle, but her words carried an undercurrent of absolute certainty. "You think your 4 ships give you an advantage," Rivera continued. "But you are thinking like a species that has always had superior numbers and superior position. You have conquered through overwhelming force and intimidation. That works against species like the Kelvorians, who are peaceful and unprepared for war. But humanity learned long ago that sometimes you cannot run. Sometimes you cannot negotiate. Sometimes all you can do is fight with everything you have, even when the odds seem impossible." "Enough philosophy," Vrazen snapped. "Weapons officer, fire a warning shot across their bow. Show these humans what Zaretian plasma cannons can do." The lead destroyer fired. A brilliant beam of superheated plasma streaked across space, passing within meters of the human warship's hull. The plasma was hot enough to vaporize most known materials. It was meant to demonstrate overwhelming power, to terrify an opponent into immediate submission. The human ship did not react at all. "Your weapon systems are impressive," Captain Rivera acknowledged. "Plasma temperature approximately 15 million degrees. Sufficient to penetrate most shield configurations and melt standard armor plating within seconds." She paused. "Our shields are not standard." Before Vrazen could respond, the human ship fired. There was no dramatic energy beam or glowing missile. Instead, a solid projectile launched from the human warship at incredible velocity. Kellerix's sensors tracked it for only a fraction of a second. Before it struck the destroyer that had fired the warning shot, the projectile was a simple slug of dense metal, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed by electromagnetic force. It hit the destroyer's shields and passed through them as if they were not there. It punched through the armor plating like paper. It tore through 3 decks, the engineering section, and the reactor containment chamber before exiting through the opposite side of the ship. For 1 heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the destroyer's reactor went critical. The ship exploded in a flash of light so bright that Kellerix had to shield his eyes. When the glow faded, there was nothing left but expanding debris and radiation. 1,200 Zorathian crew members died in that instant. Vrazen stared at the empty space, where his warship had been, his mind struggling to process what had just occurred. 1 shot. The humans had fired 1 shot and completely destroyed a Zorathian destroyer. That was a kinetic kill vehicle. Captain Rivera's voice came through the speakers, sounding almost apologetic. "We call them railgun rounds. Simple technology, really. Just metal accelerated very fast. But humans learned a long time ago that sometimes the simplest weapons are the most effective. All ships, open fire." Vrazen screamed. "Destroy that vessel now." The 3 remaining Zorathian warships unleashed everything they had. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and antimatter missiles filled the space between them and the human ship. It was enough destructive power to level a small city. The human warship's point defense systems activated. Hundreds of small turrets tracked the incoming fire with impossible precision. Lasers and small projectiles intercepted 90% of the missiles before they reached the ship. The remaining weapons struck the human shields, which flared brilliantly but held firm. Not a single shot penetrated to the armor. Then the human ship returned fire again. This time, it launched multiple rounds simultaneously. 3 railgun slugs streaked toward 3 different targets. Each one hit with devastating precision. The first round struck the second destroyer's command center. The bridge exploded, killing everyone inside instantly. Without leadership, the ship began to drift, its systems automatically shutting down. The second round hit the third destroyer's main engine. The explosion tore away the entire rear section of the vessel. The ship tumbled through space, trailing atmosphere and debris. The third round was different. It was smaller, moving faster, and it struck Vrazen's cruiser in a non-critical location. The impact destroyed one weapon's battery and severely damaged the hull, but the ship remained functional. Kellerix realized with sudden clarity that the humans had chosen their targets carefully. They were disabling ships, not automatically destroying them. "Cease fire!" Vrazen shouted desperately. All ships cease fire immediately. The Zorathian warships stopped shooting. In the sudden silence, Captain Rivera's voice came through again, still calm and measured. "Commander Vrazen, your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot stop us. In approximately 90 seconds, we could destroy all 3 of your remaining vessels completely. But we do not want to do that. We are not here to fight the Zorathian Empire. We are here to protect the Kelvorians. That is all." Vrazen slumped in his command chair, his skin pale with shock. Kellerix stood frozen at his sensor station. Watching the tactical display, it showed 3 crippled Zorathian ships and 1 undamaged human warship. "The second battle group will be here within hours," Vrazen said weakly. "They will bring overwhelming force." "Then we will disable them too," Rivera replied. "And the third battle group after that, and the fourth. We will keep disabling your ships until you understand that we are serious. The Kelvorians are under human protection now. Any Zorathian vessel that approaches their settlement will face the same response you just experienced." "Why?" Vrazen asked, genuine confusion in his voice. "Why would humans risk war with the Zorathian Empire for a species you barely know? What do you gain from this?" There was a long pause before Rivera answered. When she spoke, her voice carried a weight that suggested she was speaking from deep personal conviction. "Because someone has to," she said simply. "Because we have the power to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And that means we have the responsibility to do so. Because humanity learned through terrible experience what happens when the strong prey on the weak without consequence. We learned that lesson in blood and fire on our own world. We will not allow the galaxy to repeat those mistakes." The communication channel closed. The human warship remained in position, clearly waiting to see what the Zorathians would do next. Kellerix looked at Commander Vrazen and saw something he had never seen before in his superior's eyes. Genuine fear. Not fear of death in battle, which any warrior might face with honor, but fear of having encountered something that fundamentally changed everything he understood about the galaxy. "Send a priority message to High Command," Vrazen ordered quietly. "Tell them we have encountered the humans. Tell them everything we know is wrong. Tell them to send diplomats, not warriors, because we cannot win this fight." As Kellerix began composing the message, he reflected on Captain Rivera's words. Humanity had learned warfare in a school where failure meant extinction. The Zorathian Empire had conquered through superiority and intimidation. fighting species that had never known true war. The humans had fought themselves for 10,000 years. They understood violence in ways the Zorathians could not imagine. And now they had brought that understanding to the stars, not to conquer, but to protect. Kelrix realized with absolute certainty that the galaxy had just changed forever. The age of easy Zorathian expansion had ended the moment that human warship appeared on his sensors. Nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk the reckoning, the Grand Council Chamber on Zorath Prime was a monument to imperial power. Massive columns of crystalline stone rose toward a domed ceiling that displayed a holographic map of the entire Zorathian Empire. 200 systems, each marked with the golden symbol of Zorathian dominance, glowed softly in the artificial light. Around the circular table sat the 12 members of the High Council, the beings who directed the course of an empire that had stood for over 5 centuries. High Counselor Thrain stood at the center of the chamber, his aged frame still carrying the dignity of his position. His blue skin had faded almost to white with his advanced years, but his amber eyes remained sharp and intelligent. He had led the council for 3 decades, presiding over the Empire's continued expansion with careful strategy and ruthless efficiency. Now he read Commander Vrazen's report for the 4th time, each reading making him more certain that the commander had suffered some kind of mental breakdown. Asterisk, this is impossible, Counselor Vareth declared, slamming his hand against the table. Vareth was young for a counselor, ambitious and aggressive, known for advocating military solutions to diplomatic problems. 1 human ship destroyed 3 of our warships? Absolutely impossible. Commander Vrazen must have made catastrophic tactical errors. The sensor logs support his account, Counselor Silene pointed out quietly. She was the oldest member of the council, besides Thrain, responsible for scientific advancement and technological research. The data shows a single human vessel engaging 4 Zorathian warships and achieving complete tactical superiority. The weapons they employed were kinetic projectiles, accelerated to tremendous velocities. Simple physics, but devastatingly effective. Kinetic weapons? Vareth laughed harshly. We abandoned such primitive technology centuries ago. Energy weapons are far superior in every measurable way. Apparently not in this case, Silene replied with mild rebuke. The human projectiles penetrated our shields as if they were not present. Our shield generators are calibrated to deflect energy and plasma. They are not designed to stop solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. Thrain listened to the debate swirling around him. He had learned long ago that the best leadership involved listening carefully before making decisions. The council members argued back and forth, some demanding immediate military retaliation, others counseling caution. But underlying all their words was a current of fear that none of them wanted to acknowledge. The Zorathian Empire had grown comfortable in its dominance. For centuries, they had expanded without facing serious resistance. The galaxy contained many species, but most were peaceful or technologically inferior. The few civilizations that could have challenged Zorathian power had been defeated or absorbed long ago. The Empire had grown accustomed to winning, to being the strongest force in any conflict. Now, a species they had dismissed as primitive had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded Zorathian technology in several crucial areas. That reality threatened the foundation of everything the Empire believed about itself. We must respond with overwhelming force, Vareth insisted, his voice rising above the general discussion. If we allow this human defiance to stand, every conquered species will see it as weakness. Rebellions will spread. Our authority will collapse. Vareth speaks truth about the political implications, Thrain acknowledged. Word of this incident is already spreading through unofficial channels. Our subject species are hearing rumors about a human warship that defeated Zorathian forces. Some are beginning to hope for liberation. He paused, letting the weight of that statement settle over the council. Hope is dangerous. Hope leads to resistance. Then we crush the humans and make an example of them, Vareth declared. We assemble the Grand Fleet, 500 warships, the largest military force ever deployed by the Empire. We travel to this contested sector, and we destroy not just this one human ship, but every human colony within reach. We show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. Silence followed his words. Several counselors nodded slowly, seeing the logic in the proposal. A demonstration of overwhelming power would reassert Zorathian dominance and discourage future challenges. Silene spoke into the quiet, her voice carrying across the chamber. And if we lose? Lose? Vareth turned to her with disbelief. 500 warships against one human vessel? How could we possibly lose? Commander Vrazen thought 4 ships were sufficient, Silene reminded him. He was wrong. What if we are wrong about 500? You counsel surrender? Vareth demanded angrily. I counsel understanding, Silene replied firmly. We know almost nothing about human military capabilities. Our intelligence on their civilization is decades out of date. They have clearly advanced, far beyond what we believed possible. Before we commit the entire Imperial fleet to battle, perhaps we should learn more about our opponent. Thrain raised his hand, silencing the brewing argument. Counselor Silene raises valid concerns. However, Counselor Vareth is also correct about the political necessities. We cannot appear weak. He looked around the table, meeting each counselor's eyes. I propose a compromise. We assemble a battle fleet, but not the entire Grand Fleet. 50 capital ships, sufficient to overwhelm any reasonable opposition. We send them to the contested sector under the command of our most experienced admiral. If the humans can somehow defeat 50 warships, then we will know we face a threat unlike any we have encountered before, and we can adjust our strategy accordingly. The council voted. The decision passed with only 2 dissenting voices. Within days, orders went out across the Empire. 50 warships were to assemble at staging point Theta and prepare for immediate deployment. The ships came from garrison fleets across Zorathian space, pulling away from their usual duties to form the largest. Battle group assembled in Overa. Century. Fleet Admiral Corthan received the command. Assignment while reviewing defense plans at the military. Headquarters on Zorath Prime. He was a legendary figure in the Zorathian military. A veteran of the border wars who had won decisive victories against the Nexer Collective 40 years earlier. His tactical genius was unquestioned, his loyalty to the Empire absolute. If anyone could defeat the human threat, it would be KOR then Dot. The Admiral studied the available information about the human warship with growing concern. The sensor data from Brazen's encounter showed a vessel with remarkable capabilities. But what worried Corthan most was not the technology. It was the tactics. The humans had fought with precision and restraint, disabling ships rather than destroying them when possible, demonstrating both capability and control. That suggested a sophisticated military doctrine, not the desperate flailing of primitives who had stumbled upon advanced technology. Corthan spent 3 days planning his approach. He studied every detail of the previous engagement, analyzing the human responses and trying to predict their strategies. When the fleet finally departed for the contested sector, he felt as prepared as possible given the limited information available. The journey took 2 weeks through faster-than-light transit. The 50 warships traveled in tight formation, a display of overwhelming military power that should have intimidated any potential opponent. Corthan positioned his flagship, the Eternal Justice, at the center of the formation, surrounded by layers of escorts and support vessels. It was a formation designed to absorb enemy fire while delivering devastating counterattacks from multiple angles. Asterisk, when they arrived at the contested sector, the fleet's sensors immediately detected the human presence. One warship, the Defiance, holding position near the fourth planet where the Kelvorian refugees had established their settlement. Corthan studied the vessel through his view screen, noting the same blocky design that Commander Vrazen had described. It looked unimpressive compared to the sleek elegance of Zarithian vessels. "Open communication channels," Corthan ordered. "Let me speak with their captain." A connection established quickly. Captain Marcus Rivera appeared on the view screen, her expression calm and professional. Corthan felt a flash of surprise at her youth and apparent lack of concern, but kept his own face neutral and commanding. "I am Fleet Admiral Corthan of the Zarithian Imperial Navy," he announced formally. "You are vastly outnumbered. You face 50 capital warships, each one capable of reducing a planet to rubble. I am authorized to offer you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons, submit to boarding, and you will be treated according to military conventions. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." Captain Rivera regarded him steadily before responding. "Admiral Corthan, I recognize your name. You won the Battle of Kelmer Station against the Nexer Collective. Your tactical manual is studied at our military academies. You are a formidable commander." She paused. "But you are going to lose this engagement." The absolute certainty in her voice sent a chill through Corthan's body. This was not bravado or desperation. This was simple statement of fact, delivered by someone who knew something he did not. "Explain your confidence," Corthan demanded. "You pilot one ship. I command 50. What possible advantage could you possess?" "You are not facing one ship," Rivera replied. As she spoke, 2 more vessels appeared on Zorathian sensors, dropping out of faster-than-light speed on either side of the Defiance. They were similar in design to the first human warship, but slightly smaller and bristling with even more weapons. "You are facing 3 ships. And more importantly, you are facing humanity." Corthan felt his tactical mind racing through possibilities. 3 ships against 50 was still overwhelming numerical superiority. But something about the human captain's demeanor warned him that numbers might not matter in the way he expected. "Humanity," he repeated slowly. "Tell me, Captain Rivera, what makes humanity so different from the hundreds of other species in this galaxy? What gives you such confidence?" Rivera leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "We are different because we survived, Admiral. Our homeworld was a crucible that forged us through millions of years of evolution. We competed against predators that were stronger, faster, and better armed than us. We survived ice ages and droughts and plagues. We were never the biggest or the strongest. We were never safe. So we became adaptable. We became relentless. We became innovative in ways that species from gentler worlds cannot imagine." She gestured to something off-screen. "And then, when we finally mastered our environment, we turned those skills against each other. For 10,000 years, humans fought humans. We developed warfare into an art and a science. We created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We invented tactics that could break nations. We learned to fight when outnumbered, outgunned, and facing impossible odds. We learned that victory does not go to the strongest, but to the most determined and the most clever." Corthan listened carefully. He had heard similar claims from other species, proud declarations about their warrior heritage or their technological superiority. But there was something different about the way Rivera spoke. She was not boasting. She was warning him. "You speak of your history," Corthan replied, "but history does not win battles. Technology and tactics win battles. And I have 50 ships to your 3. "Then let me demonstrate something," Rivera said. "Your fleet is arranged in a defensive sphere formation designed to protect your flagship at the center. It is a strong tactical position against conventional attacks. But watch carefully. The 3 human warships move simultaneously their coordination perfect. They did not charge forward into the Zorathian formation. Instead, they split apart, each one targeting a different section of the fleet's perimeter. Their weapons opened fire, but not at random. Each shot was precisely aimed at specific targets. Corthan watched in growing horror as his carefully planned formation began to collapse. The human ships fired their kinetic weapons with impossible accuracy, striking communication arrays, sensor clusters, and command centers. Ships were not destroyed, but they were systematically blinded and deafened. Within minutes, a dozen Zorathian warships had lost the ability to coordinate with the rest of the fleet. All ships focus fire on the lead human vessel. Corthan ordered desperately. Concentrate everything on a single target. The Zorathian fleet responded, but their coordination was already degrading. Ships that had lost communication systems fired independently. Ships that had lost sensor arrays shot at empty space. The few vessels that managed to land, direct hits watched in frustration as their weapons splashed harmlessly against human shields that seemed impossibly strong. Human warships continued their precise assault. They moved through the Zorathian formation like surgeons, cutting away capabilities with each shot. Engine assemblies exploded, leaving ships dead in space. Weapon batteries detonated, removing offensive capabilities without destroying the vessels entirely. The humans were systematically dismantling the fleet without killing unnecessarily. Corthan realized with sick certainty that he was watching a masterclass in tactical warfare. The humans were not fighting like any species he had encountered before. They were not trying to overwhelm through superior firepower. They were not attempting to intimidate through displays of strength. They were simply and efficiently achieving their objective, which was to remove the Zorathian threat while minimizing casualties on both sides. "Admiral, we have lost communications with 20 ships," his operations officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "Another 15 have lost propulsion. 8 more have weapons systems offline. The fleet cohesion is breaking down. All functional ships retreat to Rally Point 7, Corthan ordered, hating the taste of the words. "Fighting withdrawal formation. Cover the disabled vessels." The Zorathian fleet began to pull back, but the retreat was chaotic. Ships collided as they tried to maneuver without proper coordination. Captains made independent decisions, creating gaps in the formation that the human warships exploited ruthlessly. More Zorathian vessels lost capabilities with each passing minute. Then Captain Rivera's voice came through on all frequencies, broadcasting to every ship in the engagement zone. "Zorathian forces, this is Captain Rivera. We have demonstrated that your fleet cannot harm us and cannot stop us. We are offering you the opportunity to withdraw with honor. Take your damaged vessels and leave this sector. The Kelvorians are under human protection now. Any future Zorathian aggression against them will be met with the same response." Corthan wanted to refuse, wanted to order his ships to fight to the last vessel. But he looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. In less than 30 minutes, the human ships had disabled or crippled over half his fleet. They had done so with surgical precision, demonstrating capabilities that exceeded Zorathian technology in every meaningful way. Continuing the battle would only result in more disabled ships and potentially casualties if the humans decided to stop showing restraint. "All ships full retreat," Corthan ordered quietly. "Maintain defensive formations and withdraw from the sector." The Zorathian fleet limped away, towing their most severely damaged vessels and leaving behind debris and shattered pride. Corthan sat in his command chair and contemplated the magnitude of his defeat. He had lost without truly understanding how. The human advantages in technology were significant but not overwhelming. What had defeated him was the tactical sophistication, the perfect coordination, and the absolute confidence with which the humans fought Dot as his fleet retreated. Corthan opened a private communication channel to Captain Rivera. "I request a moment of your time, Captain. I would understand what just happened here." Rivera's face appeared on his screen again. "Of course, Admiral. What would you like to know?" "Your tactics," Corthan said bluntly. "You did not fight to destroy. You fought to disable and demoralize. Why?" "Because we have learned something about war that your species has not yet discovered," Rivera replied. "Destroying an enemy completely creates martyrs and eternal hatred. Defeating an enemy while showing restraint creates respect and opens the possibility for future peace. We did not want to annihilate your fleet, Admiral. We wanted to send a message." "What message?" Corthan asked. "That humanity is here. That we will protect those who need protection. That we understand war in ways you cannot match, but we prefer peace when possible." She paused. "And that the age of easy conquest is over. The Zorathian Empire can no longer expand without facing species that can and will resist." Corthan absorbed her words carefully. "You are offering peace?" "We are offering coexistence," Rivera corrected. "Leave the Kelvorians alone. Stop enslaving conquered populations. Treat other species with the dignity they deserve. Do that, and humanity has no quarrel with the Zorathian Empire. Continue your current policies, and we will oppose you at every turn." "You would reshape the entire galactic order," Corthan observed. "We would give the galaxy a choice," Rivera replied. "Continue as oppressors and face resistance. Or adapt, evolve, and join a community of equals. The decision is yours." A communication ended. Corthan sat in silence for a long time, processing everything that had happened. Then he began composing his report to the High Council. He would tell them the truth, that humanity represented a challenge unlike any the Empire had faced before. Not because humans were more powerful, but because they understood conflict in fundamentally different ways. Back on the fourth planet, in the Kelvorian refugee settlement, thousands of survivors heard the news of the battle. They had watched from their shelters as human warships defended them against an entire Zorathian fleet. They had seen impossible odds overcome through skill and determination. Elder Kravash, the settlement's leader, gathered his people in the central meeting area. "The humans have protected us," he announced, his voice trembling with emotion. "They faced 50 warships to defend 2,000 refugees. They risked war with the Empire to give us sanctuary." A young Kelvorian raised her hand. "Why would they do that? What do they gain?" Kravash thought about the question carefully. Perhaps they gain nothing material, but perhaps they understand something that the Zorathians have forgotten. That true strength comes not from the ability to conquer, but from the choice to protect. The humans have that strength. Throughout the refugee camp, hope spread like wildfire. If humans could stand against the Zorathian Empire, perhaps others could as well. Perhaps the age of unopposed tyranny was truly ending. And across the galaxy, on 100 conquered worlds and in 1,000 slave markets, the same message began to spread through underground networks and whispered conversations. A new power had emerged among the stars. A power that fought not to conquer, but to protect. A power called humanity. The Zorathian Empire would never be the same. Neither would the galaxy. The humans had arrived, and they had brought with them a vision of what civilization could be, when strength was tempered with mercy and power was guided by principle. The age of easy conquest was over. The age of accountability had begun. Asterisk.